Greetings, and good afternoon, Juneteenth family. Welcome to another weekly edition of our Lunch and Learn.
E is exhaling, having an opportunity to breathe, to rest, to refill yourself and rejuvenate yourself, because no one can pour from an empty cup.
As you evolve and become more of yourself, you begin to attract the people that are there for you.
Amen.
So everything you need is in this space.
You have to learn from your mistakes. Once you make a mistake, oops, sit down, recoup, and then start over. And once you do that, you say, I got that.
See, Juneteenth means to me, I would definitely say empowerment and education.
When I experience it, it's like just coming together and, being a part of something bigger than myself, and
A new start, starting a new chapter, opportunity, new beginnings, all of that good stuff.
Greetings, and good afternoon, Juneteenth family. Welcome to another weekly edition of our Lunch and Learn. This week we have with us, gotta say, we're breaking our Women's Month streak. We are finally getting some manly energy up in the space, and we are joined today by Stephen Edwards Mortley. He is here to talk about sports, youth sports, athletes. We're going to talk about how the community can support, how we can show up for our young athletes, and I'm sure a lot more. Let's bring him on up. He is a 19-year corporate sales sports professional who cares about the community and is dedicating himself to the community. So it's no other place for him to be than here with us at Juneteenth NYC's Lunch and Learn. Let's bring Stephen up. Hey, Stephen, good afternoon.
Greetings.
Welcome to Juneteenth NY's Lunch and Learn. It's a pleasure to have you. So before we dive in to question asking, I would love for you, I share a little bit about you to the community, but I would love for you to speak to the community so that they can receive your energy and get a little glimpse into your world and who you are.
Okay. I am a Brooklynite. I'm of West Indian parentage and background and upbringing, who took his talents to college, then professionally in track and field, and then turned it into coaching for high school, middle school, and trying to segue those kids out of bad situations into better situations, to earn scholarships like I've done, or partials, so they won't have to pay for their education in college or where they're further in their career, whether it's in the military or so forth. I like community service because I believe the community service that I received got me to where I am. My coaches didn't do it for pay. They did it to see that they had a better world when they got older. So here I am, returning the favor.
I love that. So that's a perfect way to segue us into the first question. So our first question for today would be for you to define what you actually do in the simplest terms and give us a little bit, like you gave us some of the why there, but I'm sure some more whys will come up while you're sharing.
So I am a certified agent for the NBPA. So I negotiate contracts with the NBA and the players to make sure that they get a fair dose of their talent paid for at the time from start to finish, and they are not hindered by payments due to their injuries or anything of that nature. I also do corporate sales and sponsorships on a larger scale. I've done it for football, baseball entities. This is my second time doing it for community-based organizations, which is a little bit more challenging because the corporate entities always want to attach themselves to something larger than life, which most times is the athletes or the entities that host the athletes, which are teams or stadiums. So yeah.
All right. And how would you say, well, I know I can definitely hear in there how that would support the community, but how would you say that supports the BIPOC community, and how parents, I'm also like thinking, I guess, from the mind of a parent, never really having, I'm more of a creative, but I have had a son who played in the little leagues and in like flag football and things like that. And I was always grateful he didn't love sport. Track and field would have been safe. Soccer would have been good. I would have been okay with those things. But if he had loved them, I honestly wouldn't have really known how to show up to support him or things like that. Like, what are some of the things that you would offer to parents, and how what you do can support them?
So what I do and what I can offer is, your child loves a sport. Stick with him and stick with her and see if they like it. And I give you a prime example. My godson, when I coached football, his mother had no idea. First child, she had no idea what to do. Now I have six sisters. It's nine of us. So of course, I'm already about 5 or 6 nieces and 2 nephews in. So I would take him to football with me, and then on the weekends I would throw him into like chess places, like for little kids, like tots. And now he's at the age where he's playing football. He doesn't ever remember going to football games, playing with guys that made practice teams for the NFL. He does not remember one thing, but he loves football. So now she supports him by going and being that football mom when she can. She understands it now because I didn't force her, but it kind of gave her a light. Well, he likes it and he's happy when he's there. So you have to try to foster the happiness, because there will be bad times, but the happiness and the good times, you have to remember and bring those to light. So try to have them have as many happy times as possible. Because everybody's life has challenging times, whether they're hard, difficult, bumpy, down, flat. So as a mom, you have to try to see what the happy times are for both him or her. And the chess piece, I noticed, and I had to ask her, I said, hey, do you notice that this kid can do a half a game of chess, leave it, and come back and win it? She's like, oh yeah, he does that all the time. I said, that's unusual. I said, you realize you kind of have a genius, because only people with high level talents and high level mindsets can do that. And she said, you think so? I said, Lord Jesus, help me. I said, please have him join another club in the school. Well, they don't have chess clubs. I said, they do somewhere in Florida. They do. You have to look for it. So she's looked, she's thinking, he's ridiculously good. He's better than I thought. So it's just that you have to pick up on the small things. I know you have your life, but he's an addition. She's an addition. You have to see how it goes. I have another friend. She ran track, went to Texas Tech, from Randolph to Texas Tech, and her daughter liked track. She's like, we'll see how it goes. So she gets to like 8th grade. She said, I want to do it in high school. She gets to the middle of high school. She's like, well, I want to do it in college. And she's like, okay. So she just let her go step by step. Now she's a Texas Tech Raider like her mom.
I love it.
So
So what I hear is it's something that I practice even through those moments of being uncomfortable. It actually taught me to be comfortable being uncomfortable as a mom, and I definitely needed that at that young age that he was at. He is now a going on 23-year-old young man, and as any of us know, that love or anyone that is a Black man in this world, we have enough to be uncomfortable about. So
Right.
it's in order to cope, we do have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And
Yes.
and support is a verb. We have to show up, we have to support even when it doesn't necessarily align with our beliefs or something, because there is something, that key thing, that my word is joy.
Yeah.
So you're happy is my joy. When I see joy on his face, whether it's his music, if I don't understand it, it's just fine. It's making him happy, and
Yeah.
those are things that really do matter, because, like you said, there's enough to be unhappy about in this lifetime. So we
Right.
definitely have to practice finding our joy. And I don't want him to wait until he's in his 40s to realize that, like so many of us do.
Yeah. I
Realize.
mean, joy's going along the way. It makes for a better mental state of coping.
That part.
So yeah.
That part, the silver linings, the joy. I love all of that. So another question came up for me when you were sharing, from that point of view of the parent that doesn't know what you're looking for really when you're seeking those partial scholarships or scholarships. Like, what if you're supporting your child in that area of the sport and they want to actually go to the college level? What are the key things that they need to know or to pay attention to or to consider?
Ooh, it's a lot, but it's not a lot. It's actually basic. A lot of parents think their kids are going to be the next Michael Jordan. Let's be clear. There's only a stepping stone for those kids, you know. And I would tell you this: before Michael, it was Magic. Before Magic, it was Doc. Before Doc, it was Iceman. So every 15 years, 15 to 20 years, you get someone that mimics your style. At this present moment, it's LeBron. And after LeBron, I mean, you kind of got Steph, but Steph is a lot different. Steph is the more of the age to Michael Jordan with all the 3-pointers. So the parent can't overshadow the child and want it more than the child wants it. And then the other portion is the parent can't. I had one parent yesterday speak to me. They reclassed. Now, for us in the Northeast, we call that left back. If you're Caribbean, you getting a beating every day of the week because your parents thought you just wasted their time and your time. So he reclassed his son in middle school. Now he's 20, trying to get into college, but he wants him to go to the NBA. I said, it doesn't work like that, sir. The NBA and the NFL does have a cutoff period, and that is 25. So if you're 23 coming out of college, you need to be either on the draft board or on somebody's hot roster, meaning you're going to get a two-way contract or Exhibit 10. Those are contracts lower than the roster, but if someone gets hurt, you supplement in, pretty much like a relay team. So going from high school, he has to have great grades or decent grades, or even grades that can get him into levels of junior colleges. So junior colleges are associates, the 2-year schools that could get you into the 4-year schools. Now, the best thing they've done was the junior colleges, and I'm going to take one. We're in New York, so I could say Nassau Community College for football. You can do 1 year and leave and end up at a Buffalo or end up at a Villanova with good grades and great test scores. Before, you had to do 2 years. So that's one of the things that they minimized, and they alleviated the 2-year stipulation. So if your child is looking to go to college to pursue that, you have to look at what your child and how your child plays. If your child is not a ranked player by any means, and I mean ranked not by your school, but by the national standards of McDonald's All-American, Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour. If they're not in any of those tournaments, you have to think twice. Now, and I say that because the way the NBA is functioning and the NCAA is functioning at this time, people don't realize that things have changed. They have transfer portals where you can only transfer once. Now you can transfer twice. So I would rather pick up a kid that I have to pay for 1 year than to pick up a kid that I have to pay for 3 years, because the math is saving money. The math is also saving my job. So coaches that make $4 million a year get a bonus of $1 million to make to win their conference. So they get $1 million to win their conference. Now these are some coaches. Some get 500,000. Some get 200,000. But let's talk about the top tier coaches: the University of Kentucky, Oklahoma, Alabama, Houston. Right. So these guys are making $4 to $5 million a year. I believe Kentucky's making 6. He's the top tier, right? So let's take him. Everybody wants to go there because they feel that they can go to the league. He makes $6 million a year regardless. So let's put the $6 million to the side. We can add it up. He, as a coach, will not take a kid with bad grades because the kid will not qualify to play during the season. If he's counting on that kid to go to the SEC conference championship, which he gets a bonus for getting down to the final. So there's 2 championships. There's a regular season and then there's a conference championship. If you claim 2, he gets $2 million. So you add that up, that's $8 million, right? Okay, so see how this is going. So not to mention his alumni donations that and his local charity, his local sponsorships from the car dealership and this, that, and the third, that brings in another $2 million a year, and he has like a 10-year contract. His radio contract is another $1 million a year. So we're up to about $10.5–11 million. So you get a kid that doesn't have good grades, he doesn't qualify. So now I'm down $2 million because we don't make the conference championship, we don't win the regular or the other conference championship, right? So that's $2 million down. Back to my 6. So we didn't get to $2 million. So, well, sorry, we was at 10.5. So we're now down back to 8. We get $1 million to go to the March Madness. So if we collectively do all of that, that's 11.5. So now if you get a kid and he doesn't, we're down to 8. We get to that, we're down to 9. So now I'm missing $2 million. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, right? But parents don't think about the business behind it. Your kid is a business too. Now that the NILs are there, are they giving your kid money to play for his image and likeness? Because they're going to sell the crap out. When I was in college, Peyton Manning made $7 million off his jersey alone. That 1 year. Okay? And that was just stadium proceeds, not offline, not bookstore, stadium proceeds. When they were playing Georgia, when they were playing Michigan, when they were playing LSU, stadium proceeds at the stadium, not outside, just at Knoxville Stadium. So when it comes to it, you got to look for the grades, look for the school that'll help your child, because your child may need a little bit of development, whether it's academic or whether it's personal or mental. You got to make sure the school has those. And they have a coach that helps you along with that, because there's about 4 to 5 coaches on staff and everyone has a job. So you also have to look and see if your kid is ready to go far. Now, California, let's say Fresno State might offer all of that, but you as a parent don't want him to go there. So the parent yesterday was like, California is offering him a scholarship, but his mother doesn't want him to go there. Well, Virginia is not offering him no scholarship. You want to send him to a prep school, but you want him to go to the NBA. When he finished the prep school, he'll be 22. His first year at a Division I college, he'll be 23. By the time he even tries to get into the league, he'll be 25. Again, the age limit is 25 because that's when your body starts to break down if you've been doing this since you're 8 years old. Your knees start to go, your ankles start to go, your hips, i.e., Shaquille O'Neal with his hip surgery now at the age of 50. So you have to look for a number of things. You have to look for grades from your child, SAT scores, or even join College Board where you get the alerts from schools that drop different things. And I give you an example. Mississippi State just wants to know you can read. They don't care that you can't do math. They don't care that you can't comprehend, that you can read. Mississippi Valley only wants to know that you can write and do math. So it depends on what your son or daughter wants to do and wants to be. Now, if your kid has a 60 average or 55 average and has a 970 on the SAT and wants to go to LSU, you have to have that tough talk. Because, again, Coach Calipari, who makes an average $15 million a year, is not picking up a kid that could potentially, he go home and tell his wife, hey, hun. Now, mind you, the house that he lives in, he bought it for $1 million. It's worth about $5 million now. His groceries are paid for by the alumni. His car is paid for by the alumni. His wife's $350,000 a year job is paid by the alumni. So, and he replaces his car every 3 months. Now, he's an exceptional situation. But in my mind, I don't care what language you speak, what culture you come from, your wife is going to have a problem, to a domestic problem. You tell her you lost your $15 million a year job and she's broke now too, because now you both are out of a job. Although you have money, that's an easy life. Who wants to leave that easy life? And that's the same thing for the coach of Houston. He has a black coach. He has worked hard. The coach of Oklahoma State, he is a black kid from here, from Brooklyn, making that much money, getting those bonuses. So the parents don't understand that's the end game. For the coaches to help you get to the league so you can make your money, but they don't want to lose their money in the interim.
Gotcha. That was such a full share. I'm like, I heard so much in there. I know one of the key things that stuck out for me, and then I have a question for you. One of the key things that stuck out for me in there was also as a parent wanting to consider, like you said, the readiness of your child and the preparation for the world that your child has. So that's what comes up for me, is also preparing your child. If you don't have the tools yourself, to get y'all some tools, because you want them to be mentally prepared, sending them out into this world, especially if you're talking about and no judgment on the school that wants them to just read. But that means if they just want them to read, then 9 times out of 10, they're just passing them. They're not concerned with their grades. And if the sports fails, what are they going to fall back on? We hear the stories all the time of people who didn't take college seriously while they had the opportunity to, and how they wish they had done something different while they were playing sports. Yes, still succeed at your sports, still put your all into your sports. But if you're a sportsman, you've already been mastering school and sportsmanship at the same time anyway. So why not continue to do that? And you want to kind of instill that, like, yeah, that may be their bare minimum, but as a man in the world or a woman in the world that I'm sending out, I'm still going to want you, because expectations are not good. Of course, that word was right on the tip of my tongue, because as a parent, we do still expect these things, but with the hope that they'll want it for themselves too. That's where I've landed with expectations on my son, is that, as a parent, I know it's natural to expect things, but I know that I can't hold him to that because it's my expectation. It's not
right.
his.
So you now have to procure, and I hold it very heavily. Procure his expectations or her expectations. You have to give them different levels of expectations. Okay. And I say that I have a parent in Long Island. I saw her last year. The daughter has a 1420 on the SAT, a 98 GPA. She sent her to Caldwell. Now she has scholarships to Houston, Sam Houston, TCU, Liberty, VCU for basketball. The coach intercepted it and said, oh, she's not a good player because the team follows her. She has that ability. Whatever it is, she has that. And he got upset. That's an ego balance. Now the father's getting into an ego balance with the coach. And I said, listen, you need to contact the schools. No, she'll do well. She'll go to the WNBA from where she is. She will not. She has an aura about her that is silent leadership. It's the same. Magic Johnson has it. Robert Smith has it. Chance the Rapper has it. Diddy has it. As loud as Diddy is, people follow him, right? Oprah has it. That was her coach calling me now.
I love it.
That was her. I promise you, that was her coach calling me now. I said, send her away. Send her away. No. I get it. They're educated, but they feel they know everything. So what happened was the child got the school to the semifinals for the first time in 12 years. The coach doesn't like the fact that the team answers to her and she's a freshman. So now he doesn't want to re-sign her contract. So now I was finding her another school, and I did find her another school. But I told my coach, say again?
I said that little ditty where the lady was telling the police officer, I'm like, you about to lose your job.
Right.
Hello, you already mentioned alumni, all these different people. She did what in 12 years and you did what? You did not resign her, bruh.
So I found her another school. And the funny thing is, the guy I ran into, his son's godmother is Dawn Staley, the iconic Dawn Staley of South Carolina. But he coaches at another school. So I said, no, she represents Dawn Staley, all the short guards that got power, speed, and she could slang that thing. He said, nah, that's disrespectful. I said, pull her up. The next day he was like, you know what? I'm going to leave you here. I'm going to shake your hand and I'm going to go inside. I said, I ain't lied to you. She's just another version because she's fast as heck. So, you got to give them different levels, because if your kid has low grades, great potential, find a Division I junior college for him to go to. Because being that they have a transfer portal, they'd rather pay for a kid for 1 year or 2 years than pick up a kid that's not in the top 50 of kids in the world, because they do transfer kids in from France and Africa to pay for them. Remember, they're paying $30,000 a year. So if I'm paying 30,000 times 4, it's 100 and something odd thousand, maybe 200,000, because talk about fees and student fees and all of this and all of that and meal plans, right? Not just education. And then also food when you go away. So you now have to find out if he has low grades and high potential, find a Division I junior college for him to go to, let him do the 1 year, then go into another school, and he could do the 2 years, and then he can leave and go to the league if he's applicable. Don't send them if they're not applicable. You also have to find out what are the expectations of the NBA. One of the expectations of the NBA is that you have to and must be over 6'1" to be a good point guard or a sustainable point guard in the NBA, playing over your 5-year minimum, 6-year minimum to get your retirement when you're 55, not 65, 55. So you have to figure out that if your kid has great grades and he's one of the top kids in the state, now you say, all right, let me go to Tri-State and see where I can get him in. So if you're in New York and Rick Pitino doesn't want him because Rick Pitino is trying to cut costs at this point, okay, Fordham, you think he'll do better than Fordham. Okay, now the guy from Fordham, who is from the Bronx, but grew up in Brooklyn, but he lived in the Bronx, he's at Villanova. See if Villanova would take him. Then you go out and say, okay, well, Richmond and Liberty was ranked. Let me see if one of those schools will take him. And then, then go from there. Because it's harder for a high school kid to get into college playing ball these days, especially basketball. Not football, but especially basketball. Nowadays than anything else. So, I mean, you have to do your due diligence as a parent, because I got a scholarship to, like, I want to say 15 West Coast schools. Now, my friend Melanie, she went to Texas. She's from the Bronx. Bronx kid all day. But she only came home maybe twice in 4 years. So you got to figure that out. Because if you're going to visit them, it's a lot of money. You got to rent a car. Tickets weren't cheap back then. It was like $200. Now it's like $400 or $500, right? Then you got to rent a car for another $400 or $500. So you're up to $1,000 because of gas and if they have tolls. So you're $1,000 for the visit, and you haven't booked your hotel room. So you kind of got to figure that out, because you can't stay in the dorm. Now, if they have off-campus houses, you can do that. But more than likely, their first year as a freshman and a sophomore, they're still on campus.
And even then, sometimes they have roommates, and it's still not a situation where you're just
where
like,
you can
welcome
go and
to
stay.
bring your whole family and camp out. I think
Right.
back to when my sister was at Howard, I went and stayed with her a lot of times, but we would be piled into her room. But that was just us girls. I couldn't imagine if my parents thought they were coming somewhere too to go hang out with her. Like, wait,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, there's a number of layers into looking into your son or your daughter going to college, but you have to kind of figure out, okay, so you want to go to LSU. All right. You're not on any of these lists, but I can make LSU. Okay, you want to go there. That's your goal. No problem. You can't go straight there. Let's talk about the alternative routes to get there. All right. You're still here as a sophomore. Do you want to go to prep school and then there? But you got to get ranked at that prep school now. If not, we'll just finish our high school, go to JUCO for that 1 year, but that 1 year and them 20 minutes that you're going to be playing, or 14 minutes, you need to average 22 points per game and 10 rebounds per game. And that has to be a consistent basis. You may need only 4 games to be down where you don't average over 10 points. So, because we need to get the attention of the LSU coach. Okay, great. That would be your game plan. Okay, now if you don't make LSU, what's your next 4 schools? Auburn. Okay. Michigan. Okay. And Oklahoma. Okay. Or Texas. Okay. So now if you don't make any of those schools, what other schools can you go to? University of Houston, SMU. Who else you got? Fresno State, Villanova, Creighton. Okay, you don't make any of those schools, what can you go to? So you have to make lists and go down, because you want to end up at LSU. You could transfer from Creighton to LSU in your first year if you're averaging good 10, 15 points per game, because now you got 2 years left, because there's 5 years to a 4-year degree. Although those people who were in COVID got blessed with an extra year, some got blessed with extra 2 years. So some stayed in college for 7 years. Now, if you didn't get 2 masters in those 7 years, something wrong with your mental state, because it's all free. And they were giving you money. Some kids got $100,000 to go to school. Some kids got $400,000 in their bank account to go to school, plus a car and a housing allowance monthly at $4,000. After they didn't give you the 4,000, the 400,000. So that means you leaving school with over $500,000, $250,000. You leaving college. You know that's some people's debt. That's a lot of people's debt. A lot of people. Shoot, some countries' debt. How about that? Some states' debt. So you have to now still be a parent because you have to monitor the child's spending, expectations, and his grades still matter. Grades still matter because when he comes out and he's brokenhearted, you got to pick up those pieces. You got to help him out.
Question for you. One of the experiences that a friend of mine had way back when in the 90s, coming out of high school, he was a Fordham Prep graduate, a great baseball player. Came out, had a really low SAT score, so was only picked up by Alabama State, which for folks who may not know, Alabama State is surrounded by projects. Not necessarily in the environment that you want to take your child that you raised behind Castle Hill projects in a private home. You know, when you're already one of the kids from the private houses, from Caribbean
different
families,
environment.
From these, both of our households, as a matter of fact, were half Caribbean, half American, and so you're having best of both worlds being poured into you, but that draw of the checks being right across the street is always this thing. So now SAT score is low, offered a opportunity scouted by the Yankees, wants them to come to summer league. Caribbean parent, no, you got to go to school.
He should have taken that opportunity.
Might as well just say that the rest of the history has been the figuring out who he is and how to make his way in life, because that dream was ripped out and there was no necessary backup in place to what if baseball doesn't work.
So I'll give you this. The perfect example. When I worked for the Kansas City Royals, a kid from, did he go to St. John's Prep or McClancy? I think he went to McClancy. Kansas City Royals offered him $6 million, but he had to stay in their minor league for three years. He may get traded, but he's still going to get $6 million. They gave him $500,000 up front, and the rest will be paid in the interim. His mother left Queens, father left Queens, was down there for every home game. I promise you. Now that kid's mom, definitely, the father had his own business, so he knew what to do with the cash. He gave him a little bit. He had a little car, blah, blah, blah. He bought him a house and a building here in New York City in Queens. So he has residual income off the bat. Boom. Not in his name, in his mother's name. Not in his father's name, in his mother's name. Boom. This is how much they trust me to tell me all of this. So now if school doesn't work out, they put in $1.2 million into an account that he cannot touch for 7.5 years. So school doesn't work out, compounded interest, that kid probably right now would leave that account with about 5.6 million, almost how he started. That was 6 years ago. So a lot of the Caribbean parents, they don't know what they don't know, and they won't research. And I say that because I had a kid, he got 142 scholarship offers for football.
Amazing.
When you have Nick Saban leave his office in Alabama and fly to New York to see you live and direct, I walk into my office, coaching. I look back. I'm like, Nick, that's you? He said, Coach, it's me. I said, what the hell are you doing in New York City? And where's your security? Oh, no one's know I'm here. I'm coming to see that beast that you got. I'm like, sit down. Time out. You need water? Because I need water. I had to drink some water. I was like, you're coming to see him? He's like, yeah, we want him. He said, I know LSU going to be up here. And Florida State going to be up here. I'm here first. We want him. I tell the mother, but the mother had a domestic issue where Police was following her years ago. When I say years ago, I heard this from my uncle. My uncle's like 60 something at the time. And this is when he was a kid. She's running from that. They don't really care. And I'm telling her, I said, look, I had some friends in law enforcement. I looked it up. He said, nobody's looking for her. Literally. In international law enforcement, nobody's looking for her. I had another coach hear it. So in case she says to me, I'm lying, the other coach was like, man, I don't know what you worry about. Ain't nobody looking for you. And I heard it from the horse's mouth. She doused that boy's dreams. LSU, Alabama, Florida State, University of Florida, Miami, Tennessee. And Tennessee doesn't come out of Tennessee to look for kids. So let me be very clear. They want in-stater all the time. They save money. Tennessee, USC, UCLA, Cal, Texas, Oregon, Baylor, you name it, they came. And they're offering. This is before NIL. They're offering. This is, look, we'll give them $10,000 a month. We give them $20,000 a month. We get a sponsor a car for them. Blah, 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 blah. When I say I cried because he cried, it was disgusting. I had another parent. She was afraid that immigration was going to get called. And her son was being recruited by the second tier guys, Memphis, Liberty, VCU, who else? Villanova even came up. Penn State came up for the kid, right? These are not the top tier at the time. These are the second tier guys. And she's like, no, African grandmother. No. They're going to deport us. Everything they're going to deport us. He had to fight. One of his teammates pulled him into a training for EMT, and now he's an EMT. Wow. The other kid, he lives in Canada. He ended up playing Canadian football. He lives in Canada. We tried to bring him back to the U.S. through another coach in the PSAL who played both NFL and Canadian football. Helped me into trying to get him there. She still was against it because they thought they was looking for her. Man, I don't know what you did, but nobody cares about you. Nobody cares about your son.
You know, paranoia is so real, and our mental health states as parents is so it's part of the due diligence. It's part of the making sure that we are doing our best. We cannot, you know, they say pouring from empty cups, half empty cups, paranoid cups, your own issues and problems, traumas, you know, they're all very valid. And I can get, because I mean, you know, if you're talking that era, we're talking civil rights era, we may not know what this woman may have done. It may be something that is actually something that she needs to just stop talking about at all. Like before you.
Well, she wasn't talking about it. I picked it up because she looked familiar, and I asked her, and I put her on a notice, and I said, listen, don't worry, only you and I know. And I only know because of my uncles. And I told her, I said, we're going to put your son in a good position where you won't have to worry about that. And she literally won't give that boy his social security number so he can fill out the forms to go to college. Wow. It was a sad state. He lives in Canada now. He has a family. You know, literally, she just screwed his whole future. And then she turns around and was like, God has something to... No, you don't blame God. Don't blame the spirits. Don't blame the ancestors. You did a dumb thing.
Yeah, I was about to say, well, that's what I'm praying for. I'm praying that the ancestors were able to help him find a space that hopefully there's joy within him, because I do know that once dreams are crushed, some people's dreams are heard.
Some people don't come back from it.
never come back from it.
They
And
never come back from it.
you
Yeah.
see that sad person or that angry person,
Hmm.
and whether it be
Forever.
male or female, and a lot of times it's that dream deferred that they were not able to live out. And I'm praying
Forever.
that him being an EMT, we need EMTs, so
Yeah.
they're an amazing part of our
He's
society.
good.
So I
He's
pray that
good
he's
now.
able to
The other
find
kid is
some.
good. Yeah.
But I
Some
mean,
balance with it. Some balance with it. Yeah. There was another kid who knew he wasn't the greatest. He said, Coach, I ain't the greatest. I'm just joining to stay out of the streets. So I got you. He said,
so
came in my office like almost every day. It was so annoying. But one time he came into my office, said, I'm gonna go to this party with my friend. I said, bro, you coming to train with me in the morning. I'm gonna be there. If you're not there and you're 5 minutes late, I'm leaving. And he know because I left him before. And hold on one second.
make me miss my drives through Brooklyn.
Say again?
I said you're making me miss my drives through Brooklyn. I'm a Bronx girl, but I moved to Atlanta in 2021, so I don't get to have the pleasure of driving through streets and just hearing music coming from stores or people's windows and homes and all kind of good stuff. I do miss
Right.
that.
Sorry about that. So, I pushed him to a Division II school, St. Augustine. He's like, Coach, it's just me and my sister. My grandmother's just holding on for us so we won't go into the system. My sister's not old enough yet. She had just turned like 19. She skipped college just to help him get out of high school. The day he said he was going and I told him don't go, his friend got shot in the face. And when I say they're thick as thieves, he would come and pick him up after class and they will go and then he will make sure he gets to practice and then he'll go do what he does, come back to practice, pick him up, and then they'll go home. I'm like, damn, boy, you ain't got no other life. This my guy. This my brother. And I respected it. That one night I told him don't go. So after that, he sat in there, he cried for almost 2 days. His sister called me. She was very concerned. I said, it's going to blow over, but he has to get it out of his system. I said, don't worry about it. He gets to St. Augustine, does his thing, plays football, the whole 9 yards. He doesn't have a whole $100,000, $80,000 bill. He gets a half a scholarship. He plays it out. He gets on Dean's list, gets some more money, plays that down. He leaves school with about $20,000 in debt, accrues more debt, gets his master's, no problem, paid that down, went and got his his doctorate. Now he's back in New York City. He texted me 3 weeks ago. I got to call him. 3 weeks ago, we need to have lunch. You've been dodging me. It's like, I'm a grown man. I'm a grown man.
He said, I am too, and I'm trying to take you to lunch and say thank
Right,
you.
right. But the thing is, 3 of us from his team was going to surprise him. We didn't know he was back in New York. He's an assistant principal here in New York.
Wow. I tell you,
With his doctorate.
Support. We have
And
to support.
some of the kids that got into trouble when he left are now on the verge of coming out of prison after doing 15 years. They have to start from scratch, and some can't start at all because they're still going to be in probation for 5 years. And the money he's making as assistant principal, he said, I sold my house and bought another house here just so my sister could live downstairs debt free. I said, okay. I said, so he said, we were listening to what y'all were talking about. We just didn't say nothing. I said, okay. There was no answer I had to give him. So when I say I'm just returning the favor, this is me returning the favor. This is me returning the favor.
So question for you as we start to wrap up. So we've spoken a lot about how parents and how individuals can support and how we can, show up and look at all the different layers. What would you say the community can do for scholarships, athletes, for this area, this whole entire conversation? What is it that the community could do to kind of pour into this or support this area?
Okay. support the kids because not everyone's going to get a full scholarship, but also support them into telling them to look into other schools. I'll give you a prime example. I don't know where Tuzar from. This he plays for the Steelers now. I was a professor at Monroe College, and he said he wanted to go to Texas. I said, sorry, sir, they've already gotten their kids for 5 years out. So some of these schools already signing kids in 7th and 8th grade, and committing them to the school so no one else could get them. I said, go to the University of Toledo. They get at least 5 or 6 kids going into the NFL. No, my man, from the hood told me Texas is the best place. I said, first of all, let me ask you a question. Is your man from the hood at any of these NFL meetings? I said, no. I said, is your man from the hood got a mentor in the NFL? No. Is your man from the hood went to college? No. But he know what he talk about. I said, how is that even possible? I said, how is that possible? So at the time, I called Eugene. Eugene, my frat brother, he was the president of NFLPA. And he said, no, sir, you could get drafted from anywhere. He said, Jerry Rice got drafted from Mississippi Valley. Stop telling these kids you could get drafted from a specific school. Only the NBA does that. NFL, you can get drafted from anywhere. The kid that just got drafted from Pitt had an argument with his father, almost got fired over the argument because his brother that's above him was supposed to actually go to Houston, or he was supposed to go to University of Florida. His father wanted him to go to Georgia Tech and Mississippi when they've already recruited their kids. Do your due diligence as a parent. Don't put your expectations and your goals on your kid. That's the one thing. Second thing, stop listening to people in the hood that never been to the same level. You can't give your mechanic your bicycle to fix because he will not know how to fix a moped. He knows how to fix a car. Okay? Then the other portion of this is you have to do your due diligence in seeing the goals of your kid. If it's too high, you can help them get it, but it might be an unconventional route. And also, if you have them on AAU team, watch some of these AAU coaches. Some of these AAU coaches on the back end gets about $30,000, $40,000 per kid to get referred to some of these agents who will ultimately steal from them. And I tell you because Kevin Garnett got $47 million stole from him when he was getting divorced, and the only way he knew it because his wife was an attorney and her specialty was corporate law. So she found her money. He was like, I'm broke. No, you're not. I'm sorry, it was $74.4 million. She was like, give me my money. Give me my $40 million. You can have the rest. So you have to watch who you listen to because their want and need is not in the best interest of you half the time. And you can reach out to some of these college coaches. A lot of them that are third chair assistants, they won't bring you in because they're making $250 a year. They're making Alabama's first assistant chair is making $1.3 million a year in basketball. The offensive coordinator for Alabama right now is making $2.2 million for football. The first assistant in baseball for Alabama is making $350,000. Okay. Now for Florida, they're making about $700 because they always go to the playoffs, right? And that's minus. They're not bringing in a kid that can potentially let them lose their job. So you have to see where your kid is to make your kid blossom into the kid that they want. Because they're not bringing in a kid they have to coach up. They want to coach in a kid. The kid has to mesh. They don't want to coach up and coach in. That's too much work. When they could get a kid that they can just, this works. Let's go. Too many steps to the process. We as a culture have to stop giving our kids so many steps and hold them accountable to their development themselves. Mentally, academically, physically. Because if the kid is not getting up, I went to visit a school, Eagle Academy in Brooklyn. The kid stands 6'8". He's at least 280 pounds. He is the perfect, listen to me very well. I have a friend that's on the Auburn staff. He's been there for 6 years. He's an offensive coordinator. My other guy, Jimmy, he's now the offensive coordinator. He was the quarterback coach at Georgia. Bulldogs, championship. Perfect height, perfect size. I said, so how much you could throw up 25 times on the bench press? Bench press? Work out? He looked at me like I just cursed his mother. Like I told him like he stink. He said, I don't do that. Why should I do that? It could get me. I get ready when I get there. We have to jump out of that mentality, and the parents have to jump their kids out of that mentality. I mean, plunge out of that mentality. Because, again, the coaches want you to be ready to go.
I was just going to say, we preach so much of preparation and being prepared, but that's like a huge lack of preparation. You get there and you're barely going to, because what I do know about size is size does not equal to strength.
It
and
doesn't.
I don't care how big you are. I've seen big, weak people.
Look at Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis is only 6'2", 6'3", but he's taking out some guys. Matt Starks is 6'7", and he ran over Matt Starks. I mean, that's my frat brother and everything. I love him and everything, but he's run over Matt Starks a few times, getting to Ben Roethlisberger. Again, you have to be prepared. And our kids think you're going to be prepared when you get there. As a coach, I'm making $4 million a year, and I want to keep my job making $4 million as long as possible, because my bonuses is what I function off of, and I keep my money. Why do you think some of these football coaches retire so young? Because they buy stuff on the outside for residual and passive income, and when they retire, they go fishing. They don't bother with nobody. They come and make their commentary and they call it a day. But they have to prepare them for what ifs, because we have to understand we live in America. And some of these coaches will push you up and out just to get the next best thing in. And where you fall is where you fall. Some coaches, some will try to help you, but don't count on that. Definitely don't count on that. Don't count on that. I talk to NBA coaches all the time. There are kids that are in the G League that got drafted in the first round that are not playing on a roster because they're not ready mentally. They don't know the meaning of teamwork. They don't know the meaning of sharing. They think they could shoot 30 shots, make none, and still be a star. It doesn't work in a team setting, because the greater good is what we got to put into our kids. Because if you listen to LeBron James's speech, somehow it popped up on my feed. When he was 18, he said, school will be great, but my team will be better. It's not about me. It's my team advised me on where I am now. And his team, literally, if they're not $500 million to $250 million, each one of them are worth, he's failed. And he has not failed, because I've been in the room with those guys. And literally, it's not about him, because you know what? For each one of his kids, that's a godfather or a godmother that got a supplement if something happens to me, that my kid will not feel it. My wife will not feel it. So he's smart in what he do. Teamwork, not, oh, my son gonna make it. My child is the best. No, you have to say, well, we want this, because when something happens to you, it happens to him. When something happens to him, it happens to you. So you're kind of a team.
I was going to say, that's actually, I'm not the biggest fan of the player, but of the man. That is my favorite thing about him, is that is who he is, from a sports place to his personal life. He takes it as a team. He sees it all as a team. He looks for his city. He looks out for anything that he puts his involvement into, the children that he crosses paths with. It's all just a part of that specialness that he has. Stephen, we are at the 1 p.m. hour. We have had a full discussion today, but I know that there are so many takeaways, and I hope that the community will definitely replay and watch this interview over again and over until you get what it is that you need to receive from it.
Right.
Before you go today, would
I
you
have
leave?
one more thing for the community. If you know the parent cannot make, and you're taking your child who doesn't play sports on a college tour, just an off-brand college tour, meaning it's a summer trip. Y'all going out to DC to see an uncle. You're gonna pass by Howard. You got Maryland. You got all the Marymount and all those schools there. Take that child with you. Just take that child with you. Especially if they don't play AAU, take that child with you. It might change that child's trajectory. And I say that because look at Jimmy Butler. That's what happened to him. And he didn't get drafted. He got himself drafted. He was not on the top 50 kids. He got himself drafted at $240 million right now. He still can go in and get another $170 million later. Tuzar Skipper, not drafted at all, but he's on the roster of the Steelers, making about $1 million a year. He could still go and get traded to the Raiders and get another contract for $30 million for 6 years. That's a lot of money you didn't have that could go to work for what you want to be, your community to be what it is. So just think about it.
Shay, thank you for that. And one last question. Stephen, what exactly does Juneteenth mean to you?
Ooh, coming from my great grandparents being Garifuna and Kalinga, Juneteenth not only means freedom, but it means a celebration of who we are to be what we are meant to be.
Ashe, small words, full statement. I heard that loud and clear, who we are meant to be. Thank you for being who you are here today and bringing it to Lunch and Learn and sharing yourself with the community. Again, I'm sure like a lot of takeaways. And parents, I would ask you to watch this whether your child is an athlete or not. So many of these things can apply. My child is more of an artist, the creative. So there's the music, there's the artwork, there's the graffiti. So there are things
Leave
that
my GA artist alone, my graffiti artist alone.
and I love it for him. I love it for him. So again, I support. Do your due diligence. As I even just had a takeaway from you right now, Stephen. He just moved down here. He did not go to. He did a semester back home. And I'm going to do that. We're going to go on some school tours down here just because I would love for him to see them, because I would love to see them myself. I've often threatened going to school. I didn't do college. I did a semester as well. So he's following my footsteps. And I'm like, you know what? We could go
Well,
do that.
SCAD is right in Savannah.
I was just going to say,
SCAD is,
heading down to
my
Savannah.
niece will be graduating in May. I love you, Bree.
What? I'm glad you said that.
I love you, Bree.
That.
She will be graduating in May. And I have to say, I was very upset with her mom a lot because she got a scholarship to California, where it's SCAD, Cal Berkeley, USC for the animation, and UCLA, I think. But for the animation, they go back and forth. But she'll be graduating in May. Her portfolio is beautiful. Georgia also has animation.
I was just going to say, we have Georgia a SCAD here as well downtown.
Yeah. No, I mean, so as a parent, you have to find your niche of support. My nephew wants to do aviation. So I got his father a number of things, that he can go into for aviation. But he said he wants to pick his own. He did. So his father found him a school that he can go and get his classes and then go into. And right now, there's a mass exodus for pilots. So he might just fit into not the 747, but the 324s and the 248s, the smaller jet planes, to do those and then work his way up and do East Coast flights and do regional flights before he works his way up to international, because there's always a workup, up the ladder. So you just have to find the niche that you need to support the kid or the kids that want to do better. Because again, we live in America. Look at that young man who's pretty much a musical prodigy that got shot for no reason. So we have to try to see where we could put our kids so they could place themselves.
And on that note, I'm letting us close out right there, Stephen. It's been a very full conversation. I'm taking away a lot today. So thank you again. And I will see you behind the scenes.
Ashe.
All right, community. Oh, wow. I hope that you guys really enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. I definitely, like I said, I don't know. I picked up some things from my own son, who is a young man that I am still pouring into every day and will continue to. So community, rewatch this if you didn't get a chance to see it in full. And next week's guest, we don't have info for yet, but if you follow the page, like and subscribe, you'll be able to see the information there. Thanks for joining us on another week of Lunch and Learn. See you next week. Greetings, and good afternoon, Juneteenth family. Welcome to another weekly edition of our Lunch and Learn.
E is exhaling, having an opportunity to breathe, to rest, to refill yourself and rejuvenate yourself, because no one can pour from an empty cup.
As you evolve and become more of yourself, you begin to attract the people that are there for you.
Amen.
So everything you need is in this space.
You have to learn from your mistakes. Once you make a mistake, oops, sit down, recoup, and then start over. And once you do that, you say, I got that.
See, Juneteenth means to me, I would definitely say empowerment and education.
When I experience it, it's like just coming together and, being a part of something bigger than myself, And
a new start, starting a new chapter, opportunity, new beginnings, all of that good stuff.